plus 2ab plus b squared equals 4. And I'm not going to get to the answer from this. This is going to be something that you can use within the problem as you go further. But it's something you're going to need. Now, at this point here, I'm just going to regroup. And I'm going to put a squared plus b squared together plus 2ab equals 4. Well, from the beginning of the problem, what's a squared plus b squared equal? 8. It was 8. I can replace a squared plus b squared with 8. So take that out and put in an 8. So I got 8 plus 2ab equals 4. All right, I'm not going to figure out what a or b is, but I'm just going to isolate ab. Just get ab by itself. Okay, subtract 8. Subtract 8, and I get 2ab equals negative 4. I'm going to divide by 2, and I'm going to get ab equals negative 2. All right, the way I did it, that's going to come in useful later. You might be able to figure out a different way where you don't need that if you can't find it. But all right, I'm going to leave you with that. That's your clue. That's your hint. Okay. Now you got to go back to the beginning and see if you can figure it out at some point. Now, if you can get it, all right, I want you to turn it into me. I won't be here tomorrow. Turn it into me Friday. Okay, so use that. And I want it like detailed, like going through being able to justify. All right, since I'm not going to be here tomorrow, we'll have an assignment tonight. I'm going to have you upload that on Canvas. If you can't get it to work, or if you forget how to do it, it's not a big deal. You can turn it in Friday. All right, I'm going to do it that way. And more than likely, I got to double check, but I'm probably just going to record a lesson and have you watch it during class. Okay, so we'll do that. Bring earbuds if you got them. Okay, that'll be helpful. I mean, obviously there'll be a sub here, but it's so early in the year, it's just going to be easier for me to do that. So that's kind of my plan. All right, that's your hint. AB equals negative 2. That comes in as you go through there. So you got to try and use some, maybe some non-routine procedures. I'm going to see if there's anything I think I need to hit here. And I'll hit this as we go through the next couple weeks. All homeworks are 10 points. All homeworks are 10 points. Every now and then, if I make one worth more, I'll let you know. I occasionally will grade homework. Okay, which means I'll pick maybe 5 problems, grade them, and then if you miss, whatever, you might get an 8 out of 10. You might get a 7 out of 10. You might get a 5 out of 10. It just depends. I do that. I try maybe a couple times in 9 weeks. It's hard for me to get to that, but I like to do that every now and then. More often than that, I'll just do a homework check. I will not check every single homework that you do. Okay, I probably check the majority of them, but I will not check every single one. You will be allowed to drop your lowest homework grade each 9 weeks. Okay, so like if you are super busy, you got a play practice, I don't know, you got a 10-page English paper to do, and you got something else, you don't get to the homework and you get a 0 on it, you can drop it at the end of the 9 weeks, but only at the end of the 9 weeks. Okay, so you're allowed to drop 1 in 9 weeks. And that's just homework. No re-quizzes, no retests, nothing like that. Everything's full go. Hopefully we're not going to talk about remote learning anymore, but you never know. Main thing is just at the end of the period, just be in your seat. Don't be milling around. I will collect cell phones for tests and quizzes. I will do that. And during class, please keep cell phones in a purse, backpack, or pocket. They should not be on your desk. And I think that's the main one. Last one, there will not be a class example for every problem in the homework. Okay, you're going to be asked to think a little bit. Okay, hopefully you're asked to think a little bit more than last year to try and do problems that are a little bit more complex. It'll take a little bit more, effort at times. And so you can use. There's a difference between copying and working with each other. I love when you guys work with each other. Okay, some of you that will be a necessity. Okay, not for everybody, but that's different than just copying. Using the internet, that's okay if you're looking for help. If you're looking for help as opposed to just copying. All right, I think we're good. I'm going to move on. We are going to start with a factoring review. Anybody get this yet? Stark State people? That should be coming in the mail. They usually have you doing orientation. They're starting a little bit later, and we start a little bit earlier than normal, so that's probably why you haven't gotten it. So Maggie got that when her last class she was in. So be ready. We'll talk about that as we move forward. Okay, I'm gonna skip that. All right. Sometimes I get guided notes probably about 70, 80% of the time. This is the section I don't. So go ahead and guide notes. One thing I will say on supplies, I highly, highly recommend a 3-ring notebook with loose leaf paper. Because I give a lot of handouts, I give a lot of things that it helps to put in order and keep. So I think it's a lot easier to keep everything. Now this is probably not big enough for, this might last a couple weeks. All right, so get a bigger one. Now, for example, you guys may not be quite as anal as me, but this is kind of a relic. This is from 1986, 1987. This would be my pre-calc notebook from 1986, 87. And so this is the first semester, by the way. Second semester is back there. Okay, in my closet. So if I want to know what happened on 11/17, November 17, we did a little analytical geometry. And then if I want to go over what we did on November 19th, we have some conic sections, which we'll do. I got it. So now you may not keep yours quite as long as I have, but you should have to use this as a resource. Seniors, it might be helpful in college. Okay? Juniors, it might be helpful next year if you need to look something up. You're allowed to keep things. You don't have to throw it away. That way, if I give you the axioms of algebra worksheet, just put it in your notebook, right? See, it's right there. So you may not keep yours quite as long, but you're allowed. All right, copy that down if you haven't already. We're going to factor today. Factoring is like adding and subtracting in middle school. Like if you can do that really well with positive and negative, you're ahead of the game. If you can factor really well, it will help you now, next year, all through any type of college math. It's just like a prerequisite. Factoring in of itself isn't that exciting, but it's just something you need to be able to do. And this is one of those things where I think you do this, you know how to do it, but sometimes you really don't know the definition. Three key words. To factor an expression means to write an equivalent expression. Same value. Okay, we're not solving. Okay, we're writing an equivalent expression. That is a product. Well, product. Andrew Dissman, what's product mean?
When you multiply something.
Multiplication of its prime factor. So it's simplified as far as possible. As easy as I can give you. 2x plus 4, that factors into 2 times x plus 2. Okay? This is factored because it's a product. It's equivalent. If I distribute the 2, I get the same thing. And it's prime factors. It means these cannot be simplified any further. So right there, that would be an example. Now we're just going to hit some of the main types of factoring. This class, since it's a CCP class, we have to follow the Stark State syllabus. They usually start at chapter 2. Okay. But I found if we do that, it's usually a train wreck because we need to go back and hit some of chapter 1 and a couple sections like this. That if I don't hit them, then it just makes life a lot harder for you. So we're going to go back and review a little bit. Quite honestly, most of what you see in semester 1, you will have seen at some point in algebra 2. We usually hit a little bit deeper, a little bit faster. Okay? And then you get a really good, I think, a better understanding of it. So you will see most of what we've covered at some point. And you should, this is from 8th grade, to be honest with you. But you got to master it. All right, first thing, factoring out the GCF. Go ahead and copy that down. All right, Justin Stevens, any idea what it's asking you to do?
Take out the greatest amount of factors.
Do you know what that is?
Should be 4.
That's part of it. Also has to contain some variables.
4 x squared and 1.
Yep, so your GCF is everything they have in common. So like he said, it is 4x squared y. Now here's what you're doing, and I know you never write this, but you are really dividing each one of those by 4x squared y, and what the division is, and the answer is what goes in those the parentheses. So Anna, what's going to go in parentheses there?
3 minus 5x.
3 minus 5x. So first of all, is it equivalent? Is that if I distributed this, would I get back the original? Yes. Is it a product? Yes, because you're multiplying that 4x squared y times that quantity. And is it prime? Well, can you factor anything else out? No, we're good. So that's factor. So that's all we got to do for that. And that's your first step you always do. Does it have a GCF? Okay, does it have a GCF? Next thing that we got to make sure we're good on is factoring by grouping. Grouping is usually typically when there's 4 or more terms. So go ahead and once you get that down, copy down the factor 2ab minus b plus 2ac minus c. All right, first thing you look for is a GCF. Take a look at every term. All right, Carter, is there a GCF for all 4 terms? Is there anything that's in common all 4?
No.
No. All right, good. So when that happens, you're kind of stuck. So if there are 4 terms, we do what's grouping. You take the first 2 terms and the last 2 terms, you kind of view them as separate problems. So Dakota, for those first 2 terms, is there GCF?
Yes.
Yes. What would that be?
B.
B is just a B. So you put B in parentheses, 2a minus 1. And for the second 2 terms, is there a GCF?
C.
It is C. Now, here's a key thing. This sign here has to come down. Whatever that sign is has to come down, and you put a C there, and then you divide both of those by C, and you get 2a minus 1. Now, here's the key thing is those 2 groups need to be the same. If they're not the same, we're stuck. They're the same. You technically factor that out as another GCF. So I'm going to put that all the way in the front. And then when you divide both of those by 2a minus 1, you're left with b plus c. Now, technically, it doesn't matter what goes first. You can put b plus c, or you can put b plus c first, 2a minus 1 second. It honestly makes no difference, okay? So just make sure. But now we're done. It's a product. I'm multiplying the first group times the second group. If I do FOIL it together, I'm going to get back to the original. All right, so that is grouping. So GCF, grouping. All right, trinomials. Trinomials. This is just like something that just comes up over and over and over again. Let me just give you something like this. How about x squared plus 4x minus 12? Let's see if you remember that. See if you remember what that factors into. See, we got to shake some of the cobwebs out. Hey, you remember?
Not really.
Some cobwebs out. A little bit. All right. George, remember?
Kind of.
Kind of. we're going grouping method. Okay. Oh, wait a minute. Where can I write? So when did you come to Lake?
Sophomore year.
Sophomore year?
Mm-hmm.
So who'd you have last year?
Logic last year.
What school you coming from?
Like seven.
Oh, okay. So you just said. Gotcha. All right, it goes back to the old rule. What are you looking for? Multiplies to get negative 12, adds to get 4, right? And so that's going to be x plus 6, x minus 2. Now, some of you did this. You did this. You did x squared plus 6x minus 2x minus 12 and did that way, right? Okay. And so then you found the common. Then you got to divide by negative 2. Gives you x plus 6. You still get the same answer. All right, we are not going to do that today. Once I'm done with the day, I'm going to let you use it. But you're going to, I think it's helpful as we move forward to learn what I call guess and check. Okay? It gives you a deeper understanding of what you're doing. Because if you forget this method, then you're kind of stuck. So now this is here. If you do not have a number in front of x squared, life is a little bit easier. Okay, we don't deal a lot with those. That's expected. You got to know that bump. It comes right to your head. Now, we're going to deal with usually ones that have a constant in front. Okay, and we're going to use guess and check. That's what it means. We're going to guess, an educated guess, and then we're going to check it to see if we're right. Why do I like math? Because I can check about 90% of my work. I know if I'm right. Now, how is this different? Now, those of you who do grouping, you're going to say, oh, you did 2 times 1 and you go that way. That'll work, and we'll do that tomorrow. But for now, I want you just to understand that if I have a trinomial, it's going to multiply into 2 binomials or break down into 2 binomials. Okay, and there's a couple key things that we have to take into account. These first 2 terms have to multiply to get 2x squared. No other way around. What are my only options? What's going to multiply to 2x squared? 2x and 1x. That's it. 2x and x. So you got nothing else. 2x and x. The last 2 terms have to multiply to get the last term. That can never ever change. What multiplies to get 1? 1 and 1. Anything else? No, we're only dealing with constants. We're not dealing. Don't throw out fractions and decimals and all that. Just constants. Now you got to watch your signs. For this whole thing to multiply to get a positive 1 and the middle number to be positive, then these both need to be positive. All right. Now the question is it right? Is it right? How do you test to see if it's right? You FOIL it. You multiply it back together. Now here's going to be a difference between any 2 people in here. Somebody might be able to just look at it and multiply it in their head. If you can do it in your head and you can get it right, that's absolutely fine. Some people may need to write it out. But at some point you'll get better at it. But if I FOIL it, I take 2x times x. That's always 2x squared. 2x times 1 is plus 2x. 1 times x is plus 1x. And 1 times 1 is plus 1, which adds up to 3x. You really only need to check, okay, the outer and the inner, because those combine to give you your middle term. You should know the outer, or you should know the first and last term are right. So am I right? Yeah. Okay, I know I'm right. Okay, copy down this one. Two x squared plus x minus 3. We're going to do guess and check. Okay. Educated guess. Educated guess. Educated check. Okay. There's a couple key things that have to work. So, trinomial is going to break into 2 binomials. These first 2 terms have to multiply to get 2x squared. It's 2x and x. I got no other options. Okay. The last 2 numbers have to multiply together to give me what? Okay. What was that? Negative 3. So what are my options? Negative 3 and 1 or? Negative 1. And your order is going to play a role here. Your order is going to play a role here. Matthew, what order do you want to put them in?
-3 and a -1.
He says -3 and then -1. All right, well, you already,
Wait.
yeah, wait, I'm waiting. I'll let you fix it. One of them's got to be positive.
-3 positive.
All right, he says -3 positive 1. All right, now, that's our guess. It's a good educated guess because it satisfies two things. 2x times x is 2x squared. It satisfies that, and -3 times 1 is -3. Does it satisfy the middle? Here's where you got to test. You got to test the outer and the inner. What is 2x times 1? It is 2x. -3 times x is -3x. What does that add up to? -1x. We don't want it to be -1. We want it to be what? Positive 1. So are we right? No, but this is an easy fix. If you got the right number with the wrong sign, you remember what you do? Just switch your signs. Keep the order of the numbers. So 2x plus 3 times x minus 1. Okay, and then that will not be right. And if you can go ahead and test it if you need to. It's going to be right. Okay. Some of you will just start doing this in your head. 2x times 1 is -2. 3 times x is 3x. It adds up to 1. Some of you will write it out. Okay. 3x squared minus 7x minus 6. All right, we're getting just progressively a little bit harder. Okay. And harder means there's more options. Okay. Harder means there's more options. And all right, let's see. 3x squared minus 7x minus 6. It's got to break down into two binomials. There's no GCF. If you take a look, you should always check for GCF, but there isn't. So I got 3x, and I got to get x. All right, last two numbers. Have to multiply. Holly, what do they got to multiply together? Give me. -6. All right, what are my options?
-6 and positive 1.
-6 and positive 1. Or
-1.
-1 and positive 6, but don't forget about 2 and 3. All right, Brooke, what do you want to try?
-6 positive 1.
So -6 positive 1. Okay, now like I said, this is a guess. We're guessing. Throwing them in there. Now, you got to check. We guessed, we checked. I want you to have an innate understanding of what's going on. I don't want you to memorize a procedure. In this case, this is going to be helpful. All right, now 3x times x is 3x squared. 3x times positive 1 is plus 3x. -6 times x is -6x. I get -6. So I get 3x squared minus 3x minus 6. All right, we know it's not right, correct?
Mhm.
All right, I'm going to give you a little bit of a hint to kind of help with your guessing. And this will always be true. If your original does not have a GCF, is there a GCF among those three? No. That means that you cannot have a GCF in either of your two groups. That will never happen. So how does that help me? I know I will never test this because 3 and 6 have something in common. Just from experience, I know it won't work. Okay? So now I don't need to test it. Okay? I know it's not right. Does anybody know the answer? Has anybody figured it out? Is that a hand up, Jordan?
Probably not.
Okay, then I won't call it. Anthony.
Is it 3x plus 2 and then x minus 3?
He says 3x plus 2 and x minus 3. And now at this point, the only thing I would say is you should know that's right or wrong. Okay, you should absolutely know it's right or wrong because you've kind of checked it. So is it right? Better be. 3x times x. See, I'm not going to go through the whole FOIL. I don't think we need to because the 3x times x is 3x squared. And we need that. That's -9x. And that's positive 2x. And what does that add up to? That adds up to -7. So is that right?
Mhm.
Yeah. Did anybody else come up with anything else that is right? That you think is right? You won't. You're only one of them is going to be right. As long as there's no GCF. But here, I also know that 2 and 3 are options, but I would also know that I would never try this because 3x and 3 have a common term. I know that'll never work. Okay, so that's going to eliminate some of your possibilities. Last one of this type. 20x squared minus 31x plus 12. I want you to look at it. I want you to write it down. I want somebody to tell me why this one is, I would say, considerably harder than the others. First of all, is there a GCF? No. Is there a GCF?
Because there's more than one way to get to 20.
Yeah, that's a big thing. Right now, all the other ones, there's to get 3x squared, it's 3x times x. That's it. You can't do anything else. To get 2x squared, it's 2x times x. But how can I get 20? 1 times 20, 2 times 10, 4 times 5. You have no idea which one's right. It could be any of those three. You got to guess. You got to check. You got to understand what's going on. Now, over the years, I just developed procedures. Like I pick the two numbers that come to mind first for me for 20. It's typically the two closest ones. So 20 is what? For me would be 4 times 5. I would test that first. Does it mean it's going to work? Absolutely not. But I'm going to test it. And you'll test it, actually. I'll let you test it. So I got, dang it. Sorry. So it's 4x and 5x. It could be x and 20x. It could be 2x and 10x. But we have no reason to believe one or the over the other. Now, here's where you got to use that factor. You can't have a common term in your parentheses. That'll help you eliminate. Now, 12 is also a problem because what are my options for 12? 1 and 12. What else? 2 and 6 and 3 and 4. Now, I know, let me show you why. 2 and 6 won't work with this case here because what do my signs have to be, first of all? Both are negative. Both are negative because it has to multiply the positive, add to a negative. So if I put a 2 here and a 6 here, what do I have in common? I got a 4 and a 2, right? Then if I flip and put the 6 here and the 2 here, I still got a common term. So 2 and 6 will never work, at least with the 4 and the 5. So I don't try them, okay? So we don't necessarily have the same. All right, see what you come up with. I will give you a hint. 4 and 5 are correct. Okay, that is part of the final answer. Let's see what you come up with. All right, while you're working, I am going to hand out, there is a worksheet for homework to go over. I still have to go over some examples, but just while I got some time, while you're working. Now you got to know whether your answer is right. Like it's not like maybe it's right. I think it's right. It's either right or it's wrong. And if it's wrong, then we go back and we fix it. Back. No, it works. I want you to put it neatly down on this one. So I can understand what you're doing. And then you turn that in. Okay. All right. 8, what'd you get?
I got 5x minus 4 and 4x minus 3.
5x minus 4 and 4x minus 3. Okay, excellent. Because if you get negative 16, you get negative 15 adds up to negative 31. It's got to be right. Okay, and if you got something different, you got to be able to check that. All right. Will either one of these two work? No. It's only going to be one of them. Only one way to do it, as long as there's no GCF. Okay, I got to go over a couple other things here. Factor completely. Let's actually jump to number 2. We're going to do number 2 due to time. All right, 4x to the 4th minus 8x cubed minus 12x squared. Factor completely just means you need to double check every step to see whether something factors again. Okay, you need to double check every step to see when something factors again. And also, you got to check for GCF. There is a GCF here. So think about what that is. Adam, you know what the GCF is?
4x squared.
Good. 4x squared. So we take out the GCF. 4x squared. And then that gives me x squared minus 2x minus 3. This is a good old-fashioned trinomial. No number for the x squared. All you got to do is say what multiplies a negative 3 adds a negative 2. Okay? So this factors again. We're not done. And so we get x minus 3. And then we get x plus 1 because negative 3 times 1 is negative 2. Negative 3 times 1 is negative 3. Okay? Anything else? So it's a multiplication problem. It's now prime because nothing else can factor further, and it's going to be equivalent. Just watch if you got, I'm going to go fast here, so just watch it. What happens when we get this b in there? All that means is this, just worry about the numbers. What multiplies a negative 16 adds to 6 is going to be a plus 8, but you tack on a b, a minus 2b. If you got that extra letter in there, that just means you have to add that variable to the second piece, okay? Because that will still give you minus 2ab plus 8ab, which will give you that. And then 8 times negative 2 will give you negative 16b squared. So you'll see a problem like that on that sheet. So just tack that on. All right. One last little thing here. Special cases. Sum and difference of squares. When you recognize these, you're going to say, oh, yeah, I remember these. These aren't bad at all. Okay. But if if you still got a few cobwebs, we'll have to shake them around a little bit. You still need to think trinomial, even though you don't have that middle term. You have square in the front and a square in the back because 5 times 5 is 25 and 2x times 2x is 4x squared. So remember, when you got this is going to be the case where they're going to be the exact same, except one's going to be a minus, one's going to be a plus. Okay, one's going to be a minus, one's going to be a plus. Why does that work? What happens when you FOIL them? What happens to those two middle terms? You cancel out your two middle. Remember, so you hopefully remember that a little bit. All right, and then again, I don't know if you got time to write this one down, but just pay attention. I'm going to skip down to number 3. X squared plus 25. If you got a plus there and it's not a minus, does not factor. Okay, it does not factor. Because no matter what you try, if you try to do x minus 5 times x minus 5, x plus 5 times x, then none of them work. You might have to explore that a little bit. Maybe I'll cover that on Friday. All right, I handed out that worksheet. First thing you always do is look for GCF. All of these factor in some form. It might only be a GCF. Some of them might factor twice. You can put all your work right here on here. If you really need extra work, you can put it on the back. Okay, but you should be able to put everything you need on here. I didn't get to the sum and difference of squares quite as much as I wanted to. But we may need to hit that again. All right, I won't be here tomorrow in Columbus. Right now, the plan is I'll bring your laptop, make sure your laptop, make sure it's earbuds, headphones, whatever you call them. I'll put the next lesson on there. So we'll go from there.